the psychology of old money families. This is going to be the most realistic video you have ever watched about old money families and their psychology. The very concept of old money means wealth that has been passed down through generations, and some of you might wonder how they're able to do all that. Most of us can't keep $100 for a week, and these guys have been building wealth for centuries. How do they do it? You're going to find out what goes on in the minds of these individuals as they navigate through life and foster enough wealth to pass on to the next generation. This is the psychology of old money families. Be quiet. Nicholas Sparks once said, "I'd learned that some things are best kept secret," and everyone understands this idea at some level, especially the old money families. We've all seen movies like Jordan Peele's Get Out, which is about the secrets kept by old money families. Although the premise is a little bit far-fetched, it does offer insight into the clandestine nature of these classes of people. We live in an age where most individuals believe that flaunting wealth is the only way to live rich. If you don't have the latest Bugatti, the trending designer wears, a large house or condo in the big city, and a considerable amount of followers online, then I'm sorry, you are poor. At least that's what rappers, athletes, and a great number of celebrities would have you believe. But the same cannot be said for old money. Let's turn our eyes to the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys, and any famous old money family you know, and ask yourself how much you know about them. Not a lot, other than the information they release to the public, right? But here's the kicker. How much do you think they're worth? Do you think it's the official numbers that they broadcast? Or is it a different number? What about the other old money families you know? What can you say about their net worth? Feel free to let us know in the comments section, and if you're enjoying this video, a sub to the channel will be our little secret. I promise we won't tell anyone. These people are surprisingly clandestine with their wealth, preferring to keep its extent under wraps and their affluence behind closed doors. They live a great deal away from the big cities, preferring pristine areas and neighborhoods out of the watchful eyes of the public. They drive somewhat modest cars and don't show their hands unless they have to. This is because to societal elites, just because you're rich doesn't mean you must always show your wealth extravagantly. There are several reasons why: security, tradition, humility, and of course privacy. It's a dirty business when you have a lot of eyes looking at your family and the amount of money you all have. Yes, most value the prestige and fame that comes with the social class, but you'll most likely never see old money frivolously displaying the amounts of money they have. No, they'd rather keep things secret. They'd rather stay quiet about everything. The class and the intellectuals. It should come as no surprise that rich people act and think differently. The behavior of these aristocrats, I dare say, are of a different class than the average man. It's not all about knowing the type of cutleries to use at a fancy dinner or the names and tastes of different exotic delicacies, although we'd be lying if we said that's not a part of it. It's about etiquette, chivalry, and grace. It's about knowing how to conduct yourself with dignity in the face of discomfort and adversity. Although some families or persons are better at it than others, members of old money families are taught to behave themselves properly, especially in a public environment. They're taught to show compassion and to treat others with respect. And yes, some would argue that they only do that when they can benefit from treating people that way, and most of them are just pretending. But the truth is, these aristocrats typically don't spend a lot of time with people below their social class unless it's a beneficial relationship. This can be construed as a superiority complex, and perhaps there's truth to that. But understand that old money individuals are also human, and like all humans, there's the good and the not so good. But they are all concerned with gaining and maintaining a certain social status. That means behaving and speaking a certain way. This is why they place a high value on education and the acquisition of knowledge. This is why you'll find members of the old money families so fixated on history, art, and music, classical music to be specific, because these are the things that are associated with wealth, the things that interest the people of that particular social class, and hence why the kids of the old money families are sent to prestigious private schools that have a history of culturing students in such fashion. They also value the company and network that comes from that educational milieu. They value word articulation and mental versatility in their members because these are the prerequisites of success, and they are characteristics that signify elegance. The perks of being frugal. When you think about old money families or just rich people in general, the last thing you associate with them is frugality, right? But you'd be surprised about how frugal these families can be. To understand this, you have to think about it carefully and logically. Let's say you have $1 million, which is great. Your goal is to have that money last for 1 year. If you're sensible, you're not going to spend it all in one sitting, right? You are going to be somewhat careful about how you divert your cash so it lasts for the intended period. That's how it is for old money families. Understand that a lot of these families date back to the Gilded Age of America, which was between 1877 to 1900. This is when industrialization formed big roots in the country, and the big businessmen of the time made fortunes due to the economic success, and that money served as a foundation for the future generations to build upon. Keep in mind that the Gilded Age was a long time ago. This is money that's been around for almost 2 centuries. You have to be careful, otherwise it'll be all gone. This is why old money is rarely spent for no reason. Rather than buy a Bugatti, they'd rather own a twin-cylinder car from the 1900s, which will increase in value and then sell for a large profit. For the old money, having lots of money is part of their lifestyle, so an absence thereof just won't suffice. So they have to find a balance between extravagance and restraint, otherwise they lose generations of wealth. Philanthropy. A charity event or an action of charity is often promulgated to be held for the poor and the economically disadvantaged, but that's only half the truth. Old money families have been doing it since day one because for the aristocracy, it's a common belief to give back to the less fortunate. It's how most of them are raised, and for many, it's more about tradition than anything else. Owning or giving to a charity not only helps people in need, but it also boosts your societal status. You gain the admiration and praise of the public, and isn't that what we all want? Sometimes it's done anonymously without the general public ever finding out, but most times it's done openly to all eyes and ears. Some people love it. They say it's the best thing to do if you're rich, and some people hate it when rich people openly give to the poor and would prefer to remain anonymous. But it doesn't stop the old money families from carrying out their philanthropic works. One could say that this is the one time that they vehemently flaunt their wealth, and why not? It is all for a good cause. Regardless of their reasons, giving to the less fortunate is part of the psychology of old money families. Leaving a legacy. Legacy is what started all of this. The need to leave a standing legacy for the future generations of a family is very important to the old money. This is why they constantly make investments in things like real estate, stock funds and bonds, and things that will accrue over time. Families can invest in precious stones, heirlooms and artifacts, all so the future of the family stays secure. The future is always a concern for these elites. It's about how their children and grandchildren can benefit from the ever-changing nature of the world. Maintaining the family legacy is very important to the old money elites, and they can go to great lengths to do so. It is deeply rooted in their family traditions, values and aspirations, and they remain steadfast in maintaining and expanding their legacies to support their families and make a positive impact on the world.